Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Axon started out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. Imagine having 100 years of tire and wheel knowledge in your back pocket the next time you sell a piece of ag equipment. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Valley Transportation. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is also brought to you by Ag Direct. No matter how you buy your ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving Iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. Marcus with Chip Nellinger. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com. Chip is with Blue Reef Agri-Marketing out of Morton, Illinois, and Chip's nice enough to come on and talk about what's going on in the markets. And man, I'll tell you, with this cold weather, Chip, my tongue froze up there for a second and couldn't say Blue Reef Agri-Marketing correctly.
That's all right. It's a mouthful at times. What do they say? Just doesn't matter what you call me, just don't call me late for dinner, right?
That's right, exactly. All right, man. So let's take a look at some weather situation here. So out there in Illinois, where you're at, you guys got about a foot of snow. I guess talk about that a little bit and what that event looked like. And did you get was it moisture rich snow, or was it that fluffy dry snow?
Yeah, it was on the fluffier, drier side. We had been, on the dry side. We'll take the moisture. I don't know if anybody really wants a foot of snow at once, but some blowing and drifting with that. That's probably just don't know the exact statistics, but probably the biggest, one-day snowfall we've had in many years here in this part of the world. I remember as a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, wasn't uncommon to have a foot and a half, 2 feet at once. But we haven't had that for a long, long time. And so it's a pretty big snowfall for us. And we're going to get her cleaned up. And, now we're kind of focused on, spring coming pretty soon. It's February. So, it's right in the ballpark here where guys are starting to think about March rolling around. And if it's nice enough, doing some field work and, Groundhog's Day yesterday, so we can have 6 more weeks of sloppy winter weather, or is it going to straighten out a little bit? And that could have a direct bearing on, when planting starts around the country and around here. So we're kind of trying to get to the end of winter here, but we're not quite there yet.
Yep. All right, so the last couple of days have been some pretty big selling taking place, and last night in the overnights there was some pretty significant selling, like just kind of continued through. Soybeans are down 7 to 12 cents, corn was down 4 to 6 cents, and wheat was down 5 to 7 after what happened during the day. And you just across the board just had a huge swing in what was going on there, and I guess the dollar shot up to over about 175 points or so overnight. So I guess you take a look what's going on there, Chip. We had a pretty good run going, and then we had a couple days of selling here. And is it just profit taking that we're looking at here, or is there something bigger out there that's looming on the horizon?
Yeah, I think profit taking, especially in the beans. Here in a little less than, or I guess right at 2 months time, the bean market's rallied $3. Pretty straight up the last $1.50 of that as well. So, markets kind of historically want to take or get towards a 45-degree angle of ascent or descent, and we got way above that in the beans, got a little bit ahead of ourselves. And, you started to see that yesterday at the highs. We shot up there about 5:30 in the morning yesterday. The bean market rallied 20, 25 cents within a matter of a couple minutes. And that brought in some profit taking. And wheat and corn kind of started that out. Beans then kind of, still closed pretty strong yesterday, but we've seen some profit taking in the overnight. Nothing really changed. I think maybe there's been a sense that there's a little bit of de-escalation maybe between Russia and Ukraine, and maybe that an invasion is not necessarily immediately imminent. I think that kind of maybe relaxed the wheat and the corn market yesterday. And, the tremendous run higher, the bean market, quite honestly, needed to have a little bit of a break. And we're starting to see that. It's not unhealthy to have these breaks along the way in a bigger, longer term bull market. Outside markets also playing into that. You mentioned the dollar. There's been a lot of volatility there. The stock market has had a 3 or 4 day rally, but now, it's back in sell mode again. And the overnights, see some fairly aggressive selling in the stock index futures here in the U.S. And so, good excuse here this morning after a long run higher in beans especially, but corn, pushed up and challenged contract highs as well. Let's take some money off the table and, kind of reevaluate things. In the bigger picture, though, I don't think much has changed. The world is still focused on South America. Their production estimates continue to shrink. Their weather is not a great forecast, fairly arid, fairly hot, over the 10-day period. So they're not going, ending their season on a real great note down there. Harvest is slowly advancing in Brazil. Been a little bit too wet in areas of the north, kind of possibly affecting yields, affecting quality, possibly affecting soy oil content there. The market's looking ahead to this February crop report that we've got about a week out. And, we'll get an update, probably most importantly, on world numbers. But I think the market is kind of trading well beyond what the USDA is going to say there. USDA usually takes a measured approach, and they have been dropping those South American estimates. But I think the market is well past where the USDA is going to put those projections. And so, kind of back to the fun and games of outside markets, maybe a little bit negative here in the very short run. And longer term, world supply has shrank, but you can't go higher every day. And we're seeing a little bit of a correction here. Mm-hmm. And I would expect that correction would eventually find some support here, especially if you'd happen to push March corn, down closer to $6, trading about $6.15, $6.16 right now. I think anywhere close to $6, you're going to find a lot of end user, good commercial buying. And on these beans, anything back down towards 15, or if we slip under 15, currently trading about 15.32, I think you'll find some good support. But as we've gone up, this volatility is going to increase. It wouldn't be anything to see, a dollar break in beans off the highs. You're already 50 cents into that, nearly from the highs overnight yesterday. And, when you get to these levels, you typically see $1.50, $2 swings in the bean market. And even if we haven't seen the highs yet, you're going to see a great increase in volatility in here. So that should be something we expect over the coming months is big swings like this. I think this is only the start of it.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about energy for just a minute. When you look at what's going on with the energy market right now, oil's down over $1. Front month contracts are down over about $1. You've got, obviously, this natural gas situation. Article I read this morning had to do with, Europe's hoping that they don't run into an energy crisis with the winter. They've kind of got a reprieve from some cold weather, and, Russia's still sending some stuff via the pipeline in Russia or Ukraine across the way. So they've bolstered that a little bit. So they're hoping that they have enough, but that's, never hopes, never good strategy. So I guess as you take a look what's going on in energy right now, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think a lot like the grain markets. Crude oil's had a huge run higher here. kind of got up close to that $90 level. Natural gas, as you mentioned, has had a big run higher as well. And in my mind, I think, and we've talked about this on podcasts, that, you look at crude oil market, look at that chart, and that'll tell you whether the U.S. has inflation or not. And, certainly, December, we were trading in the low to mid 60s. And, I think at the highs yesterday, we fell just shy of $90. So that is what the only thing you need to know about inflation right there. Now, like the bean market, it's been pretty straight up. There hasn't been really many major corrections in the oil market for the last, $20, $25. Could you correct this thing $5, $7, $8? Absolutely. And still, maybe eventually be on the way to $100 plus crude oil. And, some of it's structural, some of it, is real. Some of it's money flowing in. Some of it is the rapid shift to green energy. There's been kind of a, disinvestment in, the energy, the traditional, carbon-based energy markets. And, natural gas kind of all of a sudden has a bad name to it, right? It's harmful for the environment. And, crude oil producers are having a tougher time getting financing. And, you what the end result of that's going to be, right?
Yeah,
they're not going to produce as much. And so it shouldn't be a shock that this is, where we end up, and throw some, bullish things in there. The Russia-Ukraine tensions, the cold weather in Europe, and, shutting coal and nuclear power plants down. And all of a sudden we have an energy crisis. And, it seems like some awful smart people seem shocked at that. But, on the other hand, it almost seems like it's orchestrated in a lot of regards to speed this green thing up a little bit. But I think same thing in the energy markets. We got a problem started. Look at crude oil. As long as it stays, in the 70s and doesn't, maybe break $80, say, in the short run here, I think it's just going to be a break that gets bought. And, there's nothing to say that the uptrend has been broken yet. Natural gas, you mentioned, that's going to be wildly volatile, and it has been, down pretty sharply here today, but it's had a huge run higher. And so bigger picture there for the foreseeable future, you're probably not going back down to those recent lows from a couple months ago anytime soon in natural gas, especially if you'd see, a re-escalation of this Russia-Ukraine situation, because that's, huge, not only in the grain markets, but world energy markets as well.
Yep. All right, let's talk about what's going on over in the protein markets. Box beef prices are continuing to get weaker. Let's see. Article I read this morning looks like, choice box beef and select was down 65 cents on Wednesday, and it continues a recent slide to wholesale values. Basically, also, there's just a big swing there as you take a look at that. So I guess as you're looking at the box beef prices comparatively to the report that came out last Friday, basically talking about the U.S. herd and what that looked like being lower than it was the year before, you would think that the box beef prices would kind of firm up there a little bit, but that's not the case.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lag there. I don't think that inventory report, maybe has an immediate effect on box beef prices. Box beef has had a huge run higher here, so seeing a little bit of a correction there. I think the futures, the live cattle futures, did have some buying after that report. I think it was largely expected, but still underscores the fact that the drought situation that is ongoing in the West has led to a multi-year reduction in heifers, slowed heifer retention down, a lot of cow kill, and I think eventually there's no question you're going to see the effects of that, and so I think you saw some buying there in the live cattle futures. Feeders have kind of caught fire here with the corn market breaking back the last couple of days, and but I think we are into some new contract highs here. Some of these deferred live cattle futures, there's good profitability there, even with increased feed costs. and we're not going to go higher every day. So,
Right.
In the very short run, I think from a producer standpoint, you're looking at some levels here that, warrant, maybe some hedging. I think there's some other things going on here. This trucker situation between U.S. and Canada, there's a big beef trade there. And so that's a little bit uncertain, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But, it just does not take much of a disruption in, the flow of our meat supply to cause some big problems. And, I don't know whether that's going to be bullish, bearish, or how that's going to play out yet necessarily. But, this Canada-U.S. truck situation is probably not good overall for any of us.
Yep.
In any industry.
Yeah, that's true. The trucker situation is it's escalating faster than it's de-escalating. There's just they're piling into Ottawa there, and they've pretty much shut down the city. From what I can understand and what I've read, they've pretty well blocked things off to where they've slowed everything to a snail's pace there. So more to come on that. I mean, we'll have to pay attention.
Well, you got to dig to find that news because they're not putting that out for public view. You really got to look for it. Dig for that.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking, and it's something like that's going on, and they're not covering it. But that's another topic, Chip. So
it definitely is. That's a whole nother 2-hour podcast.
That's
Casey.
Exactly right. So. Well, good stuff as usual, Chip. Folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing at Blue Reef. What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, best way is just call our office, 309-550-7213. Love to chat with you. Love to talk to you about what your plan is and how you might be able to improve and, on developing a plan and executing on that plan, because as these markets have shown the last couple of days, this volatility is, for the short run, here to stay and probably going to increase as we go forward into this spring and summer.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks for being on the podcast, Chip.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Casey.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast. Also go to MovingIronLLC.com for everything Moving Iron related. Check out information will be up here for the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, September 6th, 7th, and 8th. All that information will be available here shortly. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's go some iron, folks. Out. Axon Tire is going to have more tips, tricks, and client advice throughout the year and in September at the Moving Iron Summit in Nashville. If you're looking to sign up for the event, please head over to MovingIronLLC.com. We hope to see you there. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransitinc.com for all of your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.